Hello, everyone. Will Gasper, grief support counselor at Hospice of Michigan, up in the Cadillac office. And I want to welcome all of you back. And I hope your holidays, that they were manageable and survivable. And I really want to start out today breaking down and replying and reviewing what our group had to say about their holiday experience. We had 11 people come in and join us on Tuesday evening, and it was it was all over the board as far as their holiday experience or experiences, because everyone had a different story to tell, as you might imagine. And let's go through what worked for the men that reported that their experience was a good one over the holidays. Several men mentioned that getting together with family in a safe, physically distant way was so beneficial to their experience. One gentleman had 2 new grandbabies that he was able to hold for the very first time. And because these grandbabies live out of state, so that was another thing. It was a change of scenery. He didn't have to kind of look around the familiar walls of his own house. And so he was distracted somewhat, or got to free himself from all those thoughts and memories that are associated with those 4 walls of his house. Another gentleman reported that he really enjoyed planning for the activities that he was going to do. And so he named a bunch of different activities that he really wanted to do over the holidays. And he wrote them all down and was able to kind of scratch them off like a to-do list or a bucket list. And he said that really, really helped. There was another guy who was had mixed reaction because he had been married with his wife for 70 years. So the previous 70 years, he was able to celebrate Christmas and welcome in the new year, even though he admitted he didn't stay up till midnight the last 10 or 15 years. But they would wish each other Happy New Year as they went to bed and they went to sleep. But he also commented how much he missed his wife and the fact that she wasn't there physically. He did talk to her. He looked at a picture on the wall and actually dreamed or envisioned that she was sitting right there in the living room with him. Another gentleman that reported good experience said he had music that his wife and him both liked, and he played that music. And in his own house, he could, sure, there was tears, but I think there were tears, as he said, tears of remembrance, not necessarily bad tears. It was a way to release some of that pent-up emotion that he hadn't shared with anybody up to that point. Now for the gentleman that it didn't go so well. One gentleman that said he was doing fine up until midnight, and then at midnight he had a breakdown and he got angry and sobbed for 2 hours, yelling at God, trying to make some sense of why his wife died. And of course, there were no answers. How could there be any answers? And at 2 a.m., he was done sobbing, but he just kind of stayed quiet and didn't even try to go back to sleep until about 4 a.m. So for 2 hours, he was just contemplating how his life had gone so far, the pain that his wife was in before she passed, and the current pain that he's currently feeling. He just contemplated on that and said it was a valuable, worthwhile experience for him to be sobbing, be angry, yelling, screaming at God. In fact, he made the comment that if he had any closer neighbors, they would have probably been calling the law enforcement to check out the house. But he says he's kind of remote in his neighborhood. So the responses were all over the board, of course, and everybody had their own unique experiences, some good, some bad, some both. And I hope that your holidays, you were able to survive them and possibly learn and grow from them as well. So after we did that review, which took up about half the time on Tuesday night, because we are now presenting this Men Overcoming Loss twice a month. And that would be on the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday. And the first Tuesday is going to be more informal, more conversational, so that folks, the gentlemen attending, can have a chance to reply, comment, and reflect on what is being said about the topic on that evening. And the third Tuesday will remain pretty much the same, more of a informational group with a few minutes at the end to kind of wrap things up and maybe have a few thoughts from the group attendees. So Tuesday night's message was based on Alan Wolfelt, Dr. Alan Wolfelt, the book he wrote, The Journey Through Grief, Reflections on Healing. And we focused on a new identity and finding a new meaning and purpose for life. And the first question that I proposed to the gentlemen to consider answering in their own minds is, where do I fit in now? Dr. Wolfelt makes a emphasis on the fact that we're all going to struggle somewhat, and in different ways, of course, about when we lose a spouse, when we lose anyone that we love greatly, about how our identities change, how our place in life changes. So remember that question, where do I fit in now? That's a commonly asked question, and men and women alike ask that question. The next question that Dr. Wolfelt proposes is, what purpose does my life have now? And again, before the loss, of course, the purpose could be defined as provider and protector. But if our spouse isn't there to provide for or to protect, what is our new purpose in life? And how does that define me? How am I defined by it? And I want to read you something about what Dr. Wolfelt had to say on page 67 in his book. Remember, do what you need to do in order to survive. For now, as you try to re-anchor yourself, to be dependent on others as you struggle with a changed identity does not make you feel bad or inferior. Your self-identity has been assaulted. Be compassionate with yourself. Accept the support of others. Many people discover that as they work on this need, they ultimately discover some positive aspects of their changed self-identities. You may develop a renewed confidence in yourself. For example, you may develop a more caring, kind, and sensitive part of yourself. You may develop an assertive part of your identity that empowers you to go on living, even though you continue to feel a sense of loss. And I think that's important to keep in mind, that you do have to be gentle with yourself as you go through this part of the 6 needs, as Dr. Wolfalt defines them. This is need number 4, by the way, the developing a new self-identity. And the next one is similar. It kind of feeds off that first one, and it's called Searching for Meaning. And I'm going to read his from his book, page 89 in this book. When someone you love dies, you naturally question the meaning and purpose of life. You probably will question your philosophy in life and explore religious and spiritual values as you work on this need. You may discover yourself searching for meaning in your continued living as you ask how and why questions. How could God let this happen? Why did this happen now in this way? The death reminds you of your lack of control. It can leave you feeling powerless. The person who died was a part of you. This death means you mourn a loss not only outside of yourselves, but inside of yourself as well. At times, overwhelming sadness and loneliness may be your only constant companions. You may feel that when this person died, part of you died with her. And now you are faced with finding some meaning in going on with your life, even though you may often feel so empty. This death calls for you to confront your own spirituality. You may doubt your faith and have spiritual conflicts and questions racing through your head and your heart. This is normal and part of your journey toward renewed living. You may feel distant from your God or higher power, even questioning the very existence of God. You may rage at your God. Such feelings of doubt are normal. Remember, mourners often find themselves questioning their faith for months before they rediscover meaning in life. But be assured, it can be done, even when you don't have all the answers. Early in grief, allow yourself to openly mourn without pressing yourself to have answers to such profound meaning of life questions. Move at your own pace as you recognize that allowing yourself to hurt and finding meaning are not mutually exclusive. More often, the need to mourn and find meaning in your continued living will blend into each other, with the former giving way to the latter as healing occurs. So, gentlemen, I would encourage you to pick up that book, The Journey Through Grief, Reflections on Healing by Dr. Alan Wolfelt. It is available at most bookstores, as well as Amazon, and any place that you prefer to buy your reading material. We also, just to kind of wrap up the session on Tuesday, gave all the gentlemen an assignment. And if you got a pen and paper handy, go grab it or come back to look at this video again when you have a pen and paper handy. But it's a series of 2 questions. The first one, I used to be, and then fill in the blank, period. Now that, and put your spouse's name there, has died, I am, fill in the blank again, period. And then last but not least, this makes me feel blank. And one of the gentlemen responded right away to that. And he said he was still going to work on that question in the solitude of his own house. But he said he used to be energized as a great husband. And he explained that his wife would always compliment him about his knowledge about certain things and the way he made her feel. But then he put, now that his wife has died, I am lost. He used the word lost to fill in that blank under for that sentence. And then the very last sentence, this makes me feel very sad. And I know it's only been 8 months since his wife passed away, so that's not unusual for someone to respond that way, because our identities are redefined, need to be refined, need to be kind of explored about what we are, what we used to be, and how we go on from there. And I reminded the gentlemen that they still have their wedding bands on, that when their former identity was as a husband, all they needed to do was to look down at their wedding bands and confirm that, well, at least I'm still a husband, because no one else is going to be my wife's mate for the rest of eternity. And so that gave these gentlemen some solace and some hope that they could work on this journey of new meaning and purpose in their life. So with that, gentlemen, I hope you join Wes Lawton and David Keller and Ron Grease, our hospice volunteer, on January 19th at 6 p.m. And this presentation, or this topic, will be continued, at least to start with, and then it will be morphing into a new subject, which I apologize, I didn't write that topic down, but I can guarantee you that there should be some very interesting material that Wes and David will be presenting. And I want to thank you for your efforts, your hard work, because grief is hard work, especially through something as challenging as the holidays. So this video will be posted on hom.org, grief support, as well as YouTube, Men Overcoming Loss. So, gentlemen, for now, take care, general care of yourselves, and we'll catch you soon. Bye.